Hello and welcome back to American National Government. Uh, Again, I am Jonathan Parker. We are going to start getting into the class now. The the tests. Uh, I'm looking at those as they come in. The grades for that. I mean, you got a 25 if you took it, so don't worry about that. But those will start being entered after Sunday, after everybody's taken the test. Uh, Also, don't forget the Flipgrid video. I logged on there last night. I haven't checked today, but you guys have to make your own on the site as well. You just shouldn't be watching mine. All right. So let's dig into the content here. All right. So syllabus design of the course. So everything that's on the PowerPoints that I say in these videos. That on videos that I might have you watch or play on these screencasts that is written in your book that I go over. So if I go over something in your book, just the chapters aren't all fair game, Talked about by a guest lecturer. I did confirm one. We'll have one in at least, said by your colleagues in class discussion boards when we get around to those. It's fair game for the tests, quizzes. So you need to pay attention. You need to take good notes, and you're going to be fine. There's nothing to worry about. Really, you've got to try very, very hard to fail this class. People invariably always do it. I've had many repeats, but if you don't log in, if you don't pay attention, if you don't turn in your work, what are you going to expect that happens? I don't magically just pass people. All right. So again, my email, make sure the name is spelled right. So what is politics? Normally, if I had you all in front of me, we'd go around the room and I'd have you take a guess at what you think the definition is. And they're all usually right, political parties, the presidential race, the Republican Party. Yeah, they're all components of it. A very generic definition, and I hand to God, I got this out of Merriam-Webster. The art or science concerned with guiding or influencing governmental policy. The art or science concerned with guiding or influencing governmental policy. All right. This is going to show up on a test. Excuse my terrible highlighting skills. I can guarantee you this will show up on a test. So what is it about? Somebody's political leanings. I'm a libertarian. Someone might say to me, your politics disgust me. What would an example of my politics be? Libertarians don't like the income tax. So maybe somebody thinks that there should be an income tax and that I'm wrong in damaging society by thinking there shouldn't be. This is a very gross generalization. Gross meaning just all-encompassing. It's just a very general statement. Republicans only want tax cuts to help their rich donors. Party politics, as I think I've mentioned, and if I haven't, will mention it now. I'm the secretary of the Libertarian Party of Illinois, so I've been at many a convention. Like Frank got 54% of the vote at the convention and became chairman of the. Let's try English. Sometimes, as you'll learn in this class, my brain goes faster than my mouth. And became chairman of the Republican Party. So politics can really cover almost any aspect of life. All right, any aspect. Family politics. Anybody know that their parent likes their sibling better than them? Anybody know that they're the black sheep of the family, the least popular member of your friend group? It's politics. Politics doesn't have to just be, Donald Trump on TV or Mike Madigan in Springfield or J.B. Pritzker or anything like that. It permeates every aspect of your life. All right. And just one additional note. If I highlight something, if it's highlighted on the slide or if I highlight it in these lectures, definitely, I would definitely pay attention to that, because in all likelihood it will be on the test. Okay. So, yeah, any number of situations, family, your friends, your job, office politics. Oh my God. I've worked a number of office jobs, never want to do it again. The boss always has a favorite. It is never me. Won't get into it, but it can be applied to any number of situations. So it can penetrate almost any aspect of life. So don't think that it's just, American national government. It's not. So American political culture. So what is American political culture? A system of shared political traditions, customs, beliefs, mainly in our institutions, and values. What are some of our traditions? Well, we go and we vote every 2 years. Hopefully we'll do that in November. We stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, or we used to when I was going through school. Customs, Thanksgiving. Most of us celebrate Thanksgiving. Most of us celebrate Christmas in some fashion. Beliefs in our institutions. So we believe in the separation of powers. We generally believe, and I would even say believed in the last couple of years, that our institutions were working in our interest. Our values. What are our values in this country? What do we value? We value the rule of law, that nobody's above the law, that we're all subject to that. Maybe we value freedom of speech. Maybe we value our right to own a gun, our right to maybe hold a Bible study in an open place. I don't know what you value, or and it's not of concern what I value, but there you go. There's different things. America is very accepting of multiple ideas, or we used to be. This is kind of what I'm talking about. We've got the America that is, and how the government operates, and how America is supposed to be based on what is in the good book, as I call it. Not that good book, but the Constitution. So some of the core principles of American political culture. Liberty. You have the right to be free. You have the right to live your life. You have the right to worship whom you will, not to worship, speak, not to speak. Negative rights are also rights too. So the right not to speak, meaning that would be a negative right. But your right to do anything ends when it harms somebody else. So your right, there's a common expression, your right to swing your fist ends where someone else's nose begins. What do you do if you punch somebody's nose? You're interfering and harming their rights. Equality. Now this is a misinterpreted principle, if ever there was one, because equality lately has come to mean more. Everybody gets a trophy, everybody gets a medal for participation, and that's not what equality in the sense that we're talking about right now and for this class is supposed to mean. So people have the same or similar opportunities to compete and achieve. So equality of opportunity, I would remember that term. Equality of opportunity is what we're talking about, not equality of result. So everybody cannot grow up to be president. Everybody, I think there are roughly 23, 24 of you in this class. If Starbucks in Peoria by the North Campus is hiring for a manager, and all 24 of you go and turn in an application, are all 24 of you going to become managers? No. There's one position, 24 applicants. But did you all have the same opportunity to turn in a resume? Did you all get interviewed? Did you all go through the same rigorous selection process? Hopefully, yes. People at that Starbucks seem pretty nice to me, at least when I've been there. So I would hope so. So like people who go to law school, they usually become richer than those who drop out of high school. Not always the case, but usually. Why? Well, in the country we live in, everybody is offered, relatively free, but if I'm remembering correctly, you have to pay all the fees and everything to attend high school and middle school and all that. You all have the opportunity to go to elementary school. You all should have the opportunity to go to middle school. You all should have the opportunity to go to high school. There's equity there. There's equality in opportunity. You all have the same chance to do that. Now, if, for instance, one of you chooses not to do the work, to ditch school, to go hang out with your friends, whatever, well, you're probably going to fail all your classes, or most of them anyway. The person who applies his or herself, who does what they're supposed to, who forms relationships with their peers and teachers, well, they might get a recommendation letter to go to a very fancy school, get a law degree, something like that. Lawyers usually do end up making more money. Although I'll put in a plug here for trade schools, if any of you are thinking about that. Plumbers, for instance, nowadays make a ton of money, as do electricians, as do anybody in the trades. Liberal arts education, which is what we're doing now, is great. Not for everybody. We definitely need plumbers, electricians, and all that. So consider that if that was something you were thinking about doing. I am giving you permission to pursue that route. So that aside, so I'd remember liberty, I'd remember equality, democracy, which again, according to what newspaper you read, what source you see, what people you listen to, it's a government run by the people through their elected representatives. Now, I always ask the question when I have you guys in person, if you walked into Dick Durbin's office and said, "Hello, my name is Jonathan Parker," whatever, substitute your name for mine, and I noticed that my town of Peoria has a pothole problem. Can you help me? What do you think Dick Durbin's going to do? He's going to laugh you out of his office, right? That it's going to go to the back of whatever sheet he keeps track of those things on. So, does the government really work for us? And that's a genuine question to consider. All right, are they really looking out for our interests? And that's totally a matter for you to decide. If you think they are, if you think they aren't. All right. But my job is to get you to think, hopefully, about these things, hopefully, about the harder questions. Uh, so I feel like I'd be failing in my duty if I didn't play devil's advocate from time to time. So, trust in, oh, you can't see this entirely, government. How are we doing with this today? How do you think we are doing with this today? Well, we can find out. They haven't done a whole lot of more recent polls on this since COVID and everything hit, at least not that I could find. If you can find a more recent poll on this, I would be very happy to take a look at it. But, public trust in government near historic lows. So Eisenhower, about 73%, to kind of Kennedy Johnson, around that time, 77. What are we now under? As of March 25th, 2019, 17%. And I don't know. Do you think this number would be higher? Do you think this number would be lower? This actually might turn into a discussion board question because I'd be interested in hearing your perspectives on this. So, trust in government is usually higher among members of the party that control the government, that control the presidency, excuse me. So, I mean, this isn't anything I think to write home about, but 21% of Republicans as of March 25th, 2019, trust the government, as opposed to 14% of Democrats. It's a pretty stark contrast because 21 and 14 is 35% of people. So only 35% of people total. Let's see if, yeah, of 21% of Republicans, 14% of Democrats, they trust the government. So generationally, I think, yeah, they don't have your guys' generation. They stop with the millennials, which is where I'm at. So let's take out Gen X, Boomer, Silent, Greatest. Let's look at this. Let's examine this. Trust my generation anyway. I was born in 1990. So millennials, 2004, 21%. What am I talking about? 44% in 2004, down, and it peaked a bit when Obama got elected. 19%. We've got a serious problem with our democracy. If like 19%, I mean, we're not talking about astronomically high numbers here. If only this amount of people, as of March 25th of last year, in my generation, have faith in the government to do the right thing, that's a serious problem. That's a serious flaw in our democracy. And that's something that needs to be looked at and addressed pronto. So let's see how that compares to the boomer generation. 16%. So the boomers, slightly lower trust right now, currently, than my generation. I would suspect a lot of your parents, my father at least is in this generation, but most of your parents are probably Gen Xers, if I had to take a guess, if I remember the rosters and seeing your birthdays. So 17%. So there's right in the middle of me and my parents' generation. So there you go. So another one. Again, I was not able to find a more recent poll than this. So now I'd like to ask you several questions about our governmental system. First, how much trust and confidence do you have in our federal government in Washington when it comes to handling international problems? Domestic problems, a great deal. A fair amount, not very much, or none at all. 10%, a great deal. 40%, a great amount with international problems as of 3rd to 15th September last year. So I guess that's okay that you've got half in the top two boxes, but you've also got half in the bottom two boxes. Domestic problems. Now here we see the big split. Great deal of trust to handle domestic problems correctly, 7%. A fair amount, 32%. That's a problem. That is a real, honest to God problem. 44, 16%, 1% had no opinion. So more than half have no trust or little trust that the government's going to do the right thing domestically. So they break this down, and you can look at this at your leisure, but we'll continue. Well, we'll continue on in part 2 of this lecture. So come back in a moment.